Before we begin today's video, let's address a few things which are banned in the comments. Point number 1. Can an Alfa Romeo be built in Poland? Number 2. How can you launch a car with one name and then a few hours later it becomes something different? And number 3. Can an electric car feel truly special and unique while sharing a platform with so many other models? I say in today's video, let's wipe the slate clean and take a look at the Alfa Romeo Junior. Look, I'm not saying that those pointers aren't valid. They are very valid. But what I'm saying is often we read the headlines and it clouds our judgments. We have a feeling about a vehicle before we've even given it a chance. And that's what I think has happened with this new model. I think that people have seen the name change and they've seen Italy getting a little bit upset about it not actually being built in Italy. And they've just decided it's a bad car when I don't really think that's the case. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the external and interior details of the Alfa Romeo Junior and finding out whether the Italian car brand have been able to inject some of their DNA into a model which shares a lot with some other cars. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, well, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So first off, let's take a look at that very controversial exterior styling. I know that likely you was hoping for a Mito-sized hatch. However, the Junior is a compact crossover, not much bigger than the Volkswagen Polo. It shares the eCMP2 platform with the Fiat 600e and Jeep Avenger. However, it manages to look distinct thanks to some typically sharp styling elements. The front end showcases sleek, ultra-slim headlamps and daytime running lights which are stacked on top of each other. Of course, this is the most controversial part of this car, the front grille design. A lot of people don't like this, but I actually really quite like it. This is where they're bringing that controversial, different element that Alfa Romeo are so well known for. They're known for pushing the boundaries, and I think this does it really well. I like that when you get up and close, you notice that the paintwork is actually shimmery. There's glitter inside of it, and you can still see the peek through of the gloss black grille behind. It doesn't feel cheap. It actually looks quite special up close. And it's also unique to the electric car. If you go for the hybrid model, this will just be a standard grille design. But whilst the front is bold, it's missing one iconic thing to the brand, and that's the Alfa Romeo side-mounted plate. Junior's side profile exhibits a sleek and polished design with smooth surfaces. It boasts a subtle lower crease and higher crease that elegantly curves around the rear wheel arch, enhancing the car's rear shoulders. As for the rear, it features a gracefully swept-up tail, adorned with a one-piece lighting element that incorporates a stylish LED lighting signature, complemented by the iconic Alfa Romeo script badging. It's sitting on a set of 20-inch alloy wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport EV tyres. They do feel sporty, and of course, you've got those classic red Alfa Romeo painted brake calipers. You may miss the fact that it doesn't have the teledial wheels, which are so signature to Alfa Romeo. But there's an element where you can go too far to try and be what has come before it. Of course, with this being an EV model, it's something very different. And I like the fact that they've gone for a slightly different alloy wheel. It's a familiar family setup under the body. The EV will adhere to the standard Stellantis battery charging setup, featuring a 54 kilowatt-hour battery and the ability to charge at speeds to up to 100 kilowatts. It will be offered with a choice of 2 electric motor versions or a 48-volt petrol hybrid. The Junior Elettrica is what they're calling this EV, and it'll be equipped at first with a conventional 154 brake horsepower motor configuration, offering an estimated range of up to 255 miles and delivering a 0 to 62 mph acceleration time of approximately 9 seconds. There will, however, also be a Veloce model with a more powerful 237 brake horsepower and sharing lots of other upgrades as the recently announced Abarth 600e. The hybrid model will be named the Ibrida, which is Italian for hybrid. It will feature a 134 brake horsepower, 1.2-litre 3-cylinder petrol engine, paired together with a 28 brake horsepower electric motor, which also comes with a 6-speed automatic gearbox. It can run on electricity alone for around 50% of the time in urban areas. Initially, the Ibrida will be front-wheel drive, but a 4-wheel drive Q4 version is expected later, possibly sharing components with the Jeep Avenger 4xe. The availability of the Ibrida in the UK is uncertain, and if it arrives, it may only be offered in 2-wheel drive. And moving on to the interior, it's a similar story. Some may say it's a bit overstyled, but I think for that sporty element that they want to bring, it works perfectly. There has to be a huge shout out to these wonderful bucketed Seatbelt seats. Seatbelt have such a long running history with Italian car makers, so I'm so pleased that they fitted them to this model. They really do feel very special with the Alcantara that runs down the centre and the leather around the outside and that contrasting red stitching with the Alfa Romeo badge stitched in the top. These are a highlight for me because let's face it, if you're buying into an Alfa Romeo product, small electric SUV or not, you're buying into it because you want those sporty Italian elements. One of my favourite things about this cabin is just how driver focused and interesting it is. I love how a lot of the elements are positioned towards the driver, but I also love the fact that it feels quite layered. It feels quite thoughtful in its interior. You've got Alcantara along the bottom of the dashboard, and then you've just got some almost wood effect tucked behind this. You've got this very sharp dashboard at the top and your touchscreen underneath. This touchscreen is very familiar throughout a lot of Stellantis products, and over the years it's gotten a lot better and they've made some big improvements. You have got these shortcut buttons at the top here to take you home if you'd like to use those, but I actually like to use 3 fingers on the screen and that will instantly take you to your main menu. Everything is really quick and everything moves at a simple touch. This is a pretty good screen as they go. Underneath here, however, you do still have some physical buttons. So you've got some shortcut buttons for your climate control and you've also got a shortcut for your volume button as well. The one thing that I'm not too sure about when it comes to this car, and it feels, I guess, a little bit subpar compared to all the sporty elements around the cabin, is the steering wheel. Maybe it just feels a little less special than everything else. Even some red stitching would just brighten it up slightly. And I do like the positioning of the start-stop button being in the centre and feeling very much like a fighter jet, but it would have been even cooler if they'd put it on the steering wheel in Alfa Romeo style. Inside the boot, you'll find an acceptable amount of space for a weekend away or a weekly shop. The 400 litres is slightly larger than the Jeep Avenger and the Smart #1. Interestingly, Alfa have managed to squeeze a small tub underneath the bonnet, big enough to store your charging cables, which is likely the only thing which gets stored in these bonnet areas. Space up front is good, with plenty of adjustment in the driver's seat and steering wheel. The rear of the Junior has been quite heavily criticised, and it's true, it's pretty small back here and it isn't the most practical. Sure, there is a USB, but just like the Jeep Avenger, there's no cup holders, not even in the doors. I can forgive that there's no pull-out armrest, but even no cup holders in the doors. What would you do if you had a cup in the rear of this car? But that's the thing. This car isn't set up about the rear seat passengers. In fact, probably When the driver is driving quite spiritedly, you don't really want to be in the back of this car, but they're here if really for emergencies you need to give lifts to people or you need to take people somewhere, then you have it as an option. But it isn't the highlight of this car, but it was never supposed to be. Interestingly, with some other manufacturers like Suzuki and Toyota going against the placement of their door handles being higher up because of the ease of getting into the car, they've actually launched this Junior with this positioned door handles. Now, this is a bit of a hit and miss for me. I understand that it does give it a sportier silhouette. It almost gives it an appearance of a three-door, but it is harder to use. If you've got smaller children, they can't always reach right up here to get the door handles. But I do think overall it really goes with the whole car, and also those back seats being quite small, maybe you don't actually need to even use these door handles that much. But let me know, what do you think of the placement of the door handles? Do you like them, or do you think they should have done them the standard ones further down? You've also got this little decal here which I quite like. They've really gone all in on the branding on this car. Pricing is not yet confirmed, but with the Fiat 600e starting from £33,000 and the Jeep from £35,000, the Junior can be expected to demand a more premium price tag. The hope is that the entry model does not tip over the price of £40,000. Whilst the standard model will benefit from a stiffer setup than its stablemates, it's likely the drive will feel familiar. The Veloce, however, is the ideal choice for those seeking something extraordinary. In addition to its increased power, it boasts a lower suspension by 25mm, a wider track, reinforced anti-roll bars and high-performance tyres. Alfa Romeo has designed the Veloce with the intention of replicating the lightning-fast steering found in the Giulia and Stelvio models, with a steering ratio the brand claims is the fastest in its class. I can't wait to see if those performance upgrades have translated to a car which is truly engaging to drive and has that Alfa Romeo passion. But you'll have to wait for a few months to find out if all of that is true. But for now, I'm liking what I see. But let me know, do you guys like what you see? Pop it in the comments down below. As ever, if you've enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. If you want to see more, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And until next time, guys, ciao.